Humans are social organisms, wired for connection. But beneath the surface of romantic gestures and emotional intimacy, something more complex often unfolds. Love, in its purest form, is meant to be a mutual exchange of vulnerability and care. Yet for many, it quietly transforms into a performance, not an expression of truth, but a strategic display crafted to gain approval, avoid abandonment, or prove worth. Why does love become a show? Why do people smile through discomfort, offer affection when they're empty, or chase validation through grand romantic gestures? This is not deception, it's survival. In this analysis, we examine how humans turn love into a stage act, and what it reveals about their deepest psychological needs. 1. Love as currency, the need to earn affection. From early childhood, many humans learn that love must be earned. They internalize a system where affection is conditional, granted for good behavior, withdrawn during conflict. As adults, they carry this mindset into relationships. They perform kindness, attentiveness, or intimacy, not because they feel it in that moment, but because they fear what will happen if they don't. Love becomes a transaction. If I make them happy, they won't leave. If I impress them, I'll be worthy. If I'm perfect, I'll finally feel safe. This is not love. It is performance driven by fear, a subtle reenactment of early survival strategies. The tragedy is that even when affection is returned, it may not feel real, because if it was earned through performance, the underlying question remains: would they love me if I stopped trying? 2. The role of emotional masking. In many romantic relationships, individuals wear emotional masks. They hide hurt, suppress needs, and maintain an image that feels palatable to the other person. This is not necessarily manipulative, it is adaptive. Humans hide their emotional truth when they believe it threatens connection. A person might laugh instead of cry. They might say, "I'm fine," when internally unraveling. They might initiate intimacy to prevent rejection. Over time, this emotional masking becomes habitual. The relationship functions not on shared authenticity, but on a mutually accepted illusion of who each person is supposed to be. The longer the mask is worn, the harder it becomes to remove. 3. Perfectionism and the performance trap. Some individuals equate love with being perfect. Any sign of emotional messiness, neediness, or vulnerability feels like a threat to their perceived value. So, they overfunction in relationships. They give more than they have. They become emotionally hypervigilant, always available, always agreeable, always anticipating the other's needs. They become so focused on being lovable that they forget to be loved. But perfection is unsustainable. Eventually, the performance cracks. And when it does, these individuals often spiral into shame, believing they have failed the role they were meant to play. 4. Social media and the optics of love. Modern relationships are increasingly performative in public spaces. Social media amplifies the theater of love, turning private intimacy into curated content. Couples post staged photos, idealized captions, and selective snapshots of joy. This is not inherently false, but it can blur the line between being in love and appearing in love. Some use online affection as reassurance, to prove worth to themselves, to spark jealousy in an ex, to mask insecurity behind aesthetic validation. The danger is that love becomes something displayed more than experienced, and behind the perfect photo might be two people emotionally distant, performing for an invisible audience. 5. Fear of abandonment and identity loss. The core of performative love is fear, specifically the fear of not being enough. People who fear abandonment may reshape themselves in relationships, becoming what they believe the other person desires. They abandon parts of themselves to avoid being abandoned by someone else. This identity distortion might feel necessary, changing personality to match the partner. suppressing boundaries to appear agreeable, hiding beliefs, needs, or flaws to maintain harmony. But over time, this erodes authenticity. And when the relationship ends, the pain is doubled, not just from the loss of the partner, but from the loss of the self they built around that person. To unlearn performative love is to reclaim emotional truth. It requires the courage to be seen, in imperfection, in need, in silence. True intimacy begins where performance ends, when love is no longer a show for approval, but a space for honesty. Humans fear that revealing their full selves will push others away, but real connection can only form when masks are removed. Performative love is safe, controlled, rehearsed. But real love? It is messy, unpredictable, and rooted in mutual truth. And in that vulnerability, something radical happens. The need to perform disappears, because love is no longer earned. It is received.